Thank you for joining me tonight on the things that bother me. Tonight I will be talking about what could happen if the government shuts down. Shutdown or showdown. They'll tell you it's just a shutdown, a temporary lapse, a hiccup in the budget. But this time, it feels different. This isn't simply the government flickering like a faulty light bulb, it's the executive branch reaching for the breaker switch and daring anyone to stop him. Shutdowns used to be a kind of ritual, a mess, a pain, but still temporary. Workers furloughed, programs slowed, paychecks delayed but eventually caught up. Annoying, humiliating, wasteful, but survivable. This time the word on the table isn't just furlough. It's firing. The message is chilling, you're not just on pause, you might be erased. A shutdown is temporary pain, mass firings are permanent damage. Under Trump, legality is treated like a speed bump. If he wants to cut, purge, or punish, he'll do it and let the courts play catch-up. That means millions of federal workers, families, and beneficiaries aren't just facing a pause in services, they're staring down the possibility of a dismantled government. Not paused. Not waiting. Gone. Shutdown 101, how it normally works. The cause: Congress fails to pass spending bills or a stopgap, continuing resolution. By law, discretionary agencies can't spend without appropriations. The Anti-Deficiency Act forces non-essential activities to halt. Who works? Accepted workers, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, Border Patrol, certain military, keep working, but without pay until funding resumes. Non-accepted workers are furloughed. Back pay: since 2019, federal employees are guaranteed back pay once the shutdown ends. Contractors, however, usually are not. Programs, core entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, keep flowing, but support services, customer service, appeals, claims processing, slow. SNAP and WIC can stumble after weeks. SBA loans and FHA mortgages freeze. National parks and museums close. TSA and air travel degrade under strain. In the old rules, a shutdown is painful but reversible. Once funding restarts, everyone returns, back pay catches up, and operations restart. The new twist: firing, not furlough. Trump has signaled that if the government shuts down, many workers won't just be furloughed, they'll be fired. Why that's different? Furlough equals temporary. Back pay comes later, jobs remain. Firing equals permanent. No guaranteed back pay, no job to return to. Morale and attrition explode, thousands may preemptively resign. Institutional collapse: programs depending on expertise, science, oversight, regulation, don't just pause, they evaporate. This turns a shutdown into something more like a purge. Legal and political constraints. Even if Trump doesn't care about legality, law and institutions still matter. Civil service protections: career federal workers can't be arbitrarily fired. Reductions in force, RIFs, require process, notice, seniority rules, appeals through the Merit Systems Protection Board. Probationary employees easier to fire. Reports show Trump's team already purging thousands of probationary hires. Schedule F revival, reclassifying workers as a policy-related so they can be dismissed more easily. Inspectors General v. independent agencies, statutory protections limit arbitrary firings, but Trump has tested those boundaries before. Courts, lawsuits, injunctions, and appeals would follow mass firings. But courts take time, and by then damage is done. So, legality may block the broadest attempts, but fear and confusion themselves can achieve what legality cannot: attrition, silence, and compliance. Program impacts, normal shutdown versus shutdown plus firings. Social Security, Medicare, VA. Normal, checks keep coming, support slows. With firings, customer service centers, appeals, and claim staff could be gutted, leading to longer disruptions even after funding returns. Food assistance, SNAP, WIC. Normal, benefits flow until reserves dry up. With firings, if USDA staff overseeing state systems are cut, issuance could glitch earlier, with states unable to load cards reliably. Airports and safety. Normal, TSAVE air traffic controllers work unpaid, morale collapses over time. With firings, safety itself is jeopardized if skilled staff are removed permanently, replaced with inexperienced or politically loyal hires. Research, health, and oversight. Normal, trials, inspections, and grants pause. With firings, scientists, regulators, and inspectors gone permanently. Programs may never restart at prior capacity. Small business VE housing. Normal, SBA loans, FHA/USDA mortgages freeze temporarily. With firings, loan officers or case processors eliminated, delays could stretch months after shutdown ends. The broader strategy. Why float firings during a shutdown? 1. Leverage. It frightens employees and unions, creating pressure to cave politically. 2. Reshaping government. It accelerates long-term goals to shrink the bureaucracy and remove dissenting voices. 3. Selective targeting. Firings can be directed at watchdogs, regulators, or scientists who check presidential power. 4. Narrative control. Instead of looking weak during a shutdown, Trump looks like he's taking decisive action. This turns what was once a budget standoff into a constitutional confrontation over the very structure of the federal workforce. The risks of a shutdown plus purge. Permanent hollowing, expertise lost, oversight gutted, agencies weaker forever. Fear culture, workers afraid to speak, dissent, or enforce the law. Service collapse, not just paused programs, but broken ones, delayed benefits, unsafe skies, stalled courts, poisoned food inspections. Constitutional crisis, courts and Congress pulled into battles over executive power, protections, and separation of powers. Economic drag, shutdowns already cost billions in lost output. Firings add long-term institutional damage. What families and workers face. Federal employees, risk of not just delayed pay, but no job to return to. Contractors, no guarantees either way, but more likely to be cut loose permanently. Families on SNAP/WIC, most vulnerable if administrative staff are axed. Travelers, longer delays, higher risk, more canceled flights. Small businesses, stalled loans, frozen credit, canceled plans. In closing, the breaker switch. Shutdowns used to be reckless enough. Families were forced to float bills, workers went unpaid, programs stalled. But now the threat is more than a pause. Now the message is, we can erase you. This isn't budgeting anymore, it's bargaining by fear. A nation of 300 million people used as leverage in a fight about power, not numbers. If Trump follows through, the bureaucracy that makes your Social Security check appear, your food card reload, your plane land safely, will not just be paused. It will be stripped, hollowed, purged. The cruelest part? Many of those jobs may not come back. Services we take for granted could be permanently weaker. Expertise that took decades to build could be gone in weeks. The safety net would fray, not just at the edges, but at its seams. A shutdown is already waste. But a shutdown with mass firings is something darker, sabotage dressed up as strategy. If the president flips the breaker switch, the lights don't just flicker, they risk going out. And the ones who will live in the dark won't be the men in suits behind podiums. It will be the worker at TSA, the parent at the grocery checkout, the veteran waiting on a claim. And that's the truth of it, not just shutdown, but showdown. Between government that serves and government that strips. Between laws that protect and a will to break them. Between the people who keep the country running and the man who says he doesn't care what's legal as long as he gets his way. The question is, when the switch is flipped, who will still be standing to flip it back? And with that, I thank you for joining me tonight on the things that bother me. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe below. Until next time.